Welcome back to one of our own, where our inaugural youth intake have just finished their first training session. I had a chance to see the boys in action. You're probably itching to hear how good they are. Remember, this was branded a potential golden generation. Are they living up to that billing? Mixed reviews, I would say. I'm not going to deny, I think a few of them could make the first team, but for each strength that they have some gaping holes in their game. But it's the personalities that I'm most disappointed with. It is a barren wasteland when it comes to that aspects of their game. We've learnt a few things with this first youth intake. There are some changes to make behind the scenes if this experiment is to go any further. But I think we should probably show you the boys.
He's wonderful! He's wonderful!
So here's our first batch, sorted in order of potential according to our head of youth development. I'm not sure I agree with some of his assessments. He has our leading youth candidate as Kingsley Blake. I don't think this kid is too bad. Mercenary personality means that he's lacking in loyalty, but at least that means his ambition is not terrible, and with some of the others that we will show you, it is. For a central midfielder, can we turn this guy into a player? Well, let's look at his physicals. He's very, very fit. Not bad, maybe a ball-winning midfielder. Look at those mentals. We've got decisions, determination, leadership, teamwork, vision and work rate we could work on. Bravery of 5, not ideal in the centre of the park, but I think we can offer this guy a contract. First touch, not bad. Passing, tackling, technique, not bad. Dribbling, not terrible either. I think Kingsley might be playing the occasional game for us during the next season. But the head of youth development then follows it up by saying our second best prospect is Jaden Bartley. See what you think, kids, of Jaden Bartley. A diminutive winger at 5'2" tall, 8 stone 9 pounds, dripping wet. He's got pace of 9. Wants to play on the wing. Crossing of 4. Useful out there. Dribbling of 6. Granted, his teamwork, his work rate are great, but he's throwing in an unambitious personality as well. I'm not sure Jaden has much of a development ahead of him. Some of the other players that the head of youth development rates pretty highly, I would agree with. I think Ashley Rook could be a player, hard-working midfielder, balanced personality, which, let me tell you, compared to his amigos here, is not terrible. This guy's got some attributes. Acceleration of 3. He's going to have to get quicker if we're going to play him in the first team. Otherwise, not too bad. Natural fitness good, stamina good, mentally really good, teamwork, work rate, leadership, determination. Not shabby here. Even the technicals are okay. Marking, tackling, technique, first touch, we can work on. The passing, big area for development. We would have to get that up to at least a 7 to play him at this level of football. But it's not out of the question. Perhaps the player I think is the best central midfield talent is Trevor Rooney, who our head of youth development is saying has maybe got 2-star, maybe 3-star potential. I think this guy's actually the best of the 3. He is a balanced personality, determination of 10. Look at how brave he is though. Teamwork, work rate. Perhaps some of his attributes aren't as high as the other 2, but look at the consistency that's there. Passing, good. Tackling technique, first touch, pretty good. Apart from flair, which you don't necessarily need if you're going to be a hard-working midfielder, his mentals are not too shabby at all. His agility and his strength need a bit of work, but otherwise his physicals are not too bad. I think we can turn Trevor Rooney into a player, so I think he could be making appearances before long as well. But then we have to go right down the list of who the head of youth development is rating to find some of the other guys that I don't think are too bad. I mean, Sam McCall, who the head of youth development is giving a solid 1.5-star potential to, rising to 2.5 maybe. I think little Sammy is not too bad there. Balanced personality again, not terrible compared to his peers. He can finish. His composure's not awful. His off the ball's pretty decent. His positioning will need an awful lot of work, but look at the pace, the fitness. He's 6'2". He gets the crowd going. Acceleration good. Imagine we could stick 2 on each of those physicals and get him to pace 14, acceleration 15, with finishing maybe a 14 as well. Come on, I can see Sam McCall banging in a few goals. One of the worst players, according to the head of youth development, I actually think is one of the strongest prospects. Again, mercenary personality, not ideal, granted. Ibrahim Koulibaly, if we could improve his pace and all-round physicals, he's got a lot of what you want in a left-back, I reckon. 5'11", he'll probably grow to 6 foot. Jumping reach not too bad, so he's going to be an aerial force at left-back. Then look at those mentals there. Composure, good. Determination, good. Leadership, teamwork, great. Work rate, it's there for a fullback. He can cross a ball. For a 15-year-old left-back in the Vanarama North, crossing 8's not too bad. Marking 7, passing 6, tackling 10. We're going to have to speed him up, but I reckon we can turn Ibrahim Koulibaly into a player. Talking of sped up, there is one guy that's come through who has holes in his game, but does have a lick of pace about him. Andrew Duxbury can't cross a ball, but he can chase it pretty fast. Flair is good, passing is good, technique is good, dribbling is good. We might be able to turn Andrew Duxbury into something. So, is it a golden generation? I don't think it is. Are we going to have to radically address our head of youth development in terms of personality? Absolutely. I've decided that personality is king above all else in a head of youth development. I don't think we're going to get a model citizen. I don't think we are going to get anyone that is even professional. But if we can get one that's fairly professional or fairly ambitious or fairly determined, we are going to snap him up, because we need these youngsters to come through with better personalities. But we have got to now start thinking about how we're going to get these boys on a training regime, which ones we're keeping on, and whether any of them are going to get a substitute appearance if they sign their contracts in time, as we take on Chorley today in a league campaign that is falling apart a little bit. Just before we get out into the game then, here is the recent form. Makes you wince a little bit and worry about today's game. There's a lot of red on that screen since the last game where we drew at top of the table filed. We followed it up by beating Darlington and made progress in the FA Trophy, beating Braintree before a whooping at Hereford. Bounced back by scraping a win against Guiseley, but then a real poor run started. Narrow defeat to Boston United. Narrow defeat to Brackley for the second time this season in the local derby. Then we took Notts County from the division above to extra time, but lost deep into that game. Did all right against Chester, managed to beat them. Lost narrowly. There's a theme that's emerging against Leamington. Did not lose this one narrowly. 5-3 doesn't tell the picture. We were 5-0 down and we got absolutely humbled in this game. Probably weren't really that convincing as we beat Gloucester 4-2 and then got another absolute pasting against Alfreton. So we are not going into this in good form. I think the 5-2-3 may not be long for this world. This could even be its last game, depending on how badly today goes. But we have got 3 of our own on the bench for today's game. We're going to try, if the game entitles us to bring on little Sammy McCall. He scored 2 goals as the youth candidates took on the under-18s. And I think with a little bit of pace, you're always dangerous at this level, and the boy can finish as well. We might bring him on as a sub if we're not getting hammered today. We've got the Rookster on the bench who didn't play great, it has to be said, for the youth candidates. But I think some of those mentals mean that even with passing of 4, he might be able to run around and hurt people for us late on in the game. And then we've got Rooney on the bench as well, who I think, with a bit of nurturing, we can develop. And again, we might be able to bring him off the bench for today's game. But we can delay it no longer. Let's get out there. This could be the last hurrah for the 3 up top. Gotta remember, we're going to be losing Scotty at the end of the season, and this boy has probably been our best player this season. Let's get the outstretched arms going. No, just enjoy the match. That's never going to do, is it? We're going to point the finger and say, show me what you can do. All right, let's see if they can show us what they can do. Chorley are about mid-table, 11th in the league, I think. There you are, they're level on points with us. Exactly. So, two evenly matched sides in the table, but one of these sides is on a terrible little patch of form. The only oasis being the occasional victory where we're still conceding goals. Did you see us talk through any goalkeepers that came through? Scotty puts us into the lead. Are going to miss him. One keeper came through. 5'10", command of area of 1. Although he is a decent shot stopper. We've given him a contract. Can't afford not to, really, with a 38-year-old goalie that could retire at any time. And a backup goalie that is raw at best. We've signed him up. Otherwise, apart from Koulibaly, wasn't a lot that you'd necessarily put straight in to your defence. There was a couple of centre-halves that I think we can work with. One of them Spanish, by the way. But he needs a bit of work, and they were both really lacking in pace. They were very slow, kind of acceleration 5 kind of players. So we're going to have to improve on them physically. Jumping reach wasn't bad. They were both, 6'2", I think. But they're going to need a year's training before we bring them into the team. Stephen Wen nods Chorley back level, and I've just noticed there's only 6 minutes gone on the clock. Who can we pinpoint this at? We've got 3 centre-halves all lined up there. We've got a flat back 5. And the central of them has not gone with their man. And we've been picked off. Disappointing. That'll be Graham, I think, who's 34 years old. We've got a few players who I think we're going to have to let go at the end of the season because they're not involved. They're on fairly hefty wages. And they are not really, Scotty's gone through again, not really justifying us keeping them on their books. It means we're going to have an even smaller squad. But we've got to free up some space to get these youth players involved, I think. And I also want to free up some money so that we can go to town on assembling a better backroom staff. I've worked out that the under-18 coaches work with the youth prospects before they even come through on youth intake day. So I want some real positive personalities there to maybe rub off on the youth intake that come through. So we're going to need money for that. I'd like to try and improve our first team backroom staff as well. So that as players are hitting their 18, 19, 20 years old, we've got some better coaches to work with them. And I want a head of youth development. I've read, by the way, that you can assign the head of youth development duties to other members of staff. And I've managed to bring in a coach. Scotty nods over. A coach who's got a fairly professional personality. If I can't find a head of youth development that's any good, could I not have a head of youth development assign his duties elsewhere to this coach who's fairly professional and get him to bring players through instead? Not sure. That could be another one down in the comments. Your comments, by the way, have been teaching me a lot. Some of the links that you've been dropping to articles have been hugely significant. Is that onside? Ben Stevens. He is a good little player, Ben Stevens. In fact, since we switched this guy to striker, that's his 14th goal for us now. In episode 1, we're playing him as a deep-lying playmaker. I've not ruled out, by the way, returning him to central midfield because 3 of the youth boys that came through were decent central midfielders, but none of them were creative. None of them were a playmaker. Ben Stevens could be that, and he has put us back into the lead. That is not a terrible first half. We are going to say, I'm pleased, keep it up. Because if we can get to the 60-minute mark like this, maybe even an extra goal, as we give them a shout and demand a bit more, we could bring on one of our own for their first appearance. This is why the series got its name. If Scotty scores here, hit the rebound. The keeper's knocked it over. If we could get a third goal, we could bring on one of our own for their first appearance. We'll do it live on camera so that you can see it. By the way, corner update. Still not scored from a corner. What are we into the season now? 30 games and we've not scored a goal from a corner? Terrible. The Sheriff probably should have tucked that away. We're not looking too bad on the old XG. 1.2. I think, kids, we're going to do it. We're going to bring on one of our own. The front three are all having a pretty decent game, so I don't think it's going to be Sammy McCall until later on. But I'm looking at Kennedy, Mr. Kennedy, playing a 6.3 as a Carolero. That is not great. We're going to swap him back into defence, where we've been playing him most of the season. We're going to take Fryer off, and we can either bring on the Rookster, who cannot pass a ball, but has got some other pretty decent attributes, or we can bring on the more rounded Trevor Rooney. I think this is our guy, you know. I think the first one of our own that we bring on is going to be Trev. Is Trev from Kettering? No, he's from Ashbourne in Ireland. All right. Rookster, where you born, mate? He's a Kettering boy. Shall we go with the Rookster? We're doing it. He cannot pass at all, but he's on. He's playing as Carolero. What's he want to be? He can do that. He can do that. Get out there and work hard. Okay, can we give him a little team talk? The Rookster, what can we say? We can outstretch our arms and say, no pressure, go out there and have some fun. Sounds like a Sheryl Crow song, but we're telling him it anyway. Come on, Rookster. Give us a highlight. Get on the ball. Okay. Where is he? Turner heads it clear. Stevens. Where's the Rookster? Is it this little chap? We've picked him out straight away. Oh, he's little, isn't he? He's a small one. Look at him sitting there resplendent in the midfield. Get the Rookster on the ball. Passing a 4. Passing a 4. It's like being back at Northern Mariana. But we're breaking again. Come on. Third goal. Give it to the Rookster. He's dinged one. That was sublime. We've gone in. Come on, Sheriff. The Sheriff. All right. Highlights again. We're playing pretty well. Better than we've played in the last few. Get over. Don't let him in again. Colin saves. Good old Colin. Old being the operative word, by the way. He is knocking on in years. All comes in. Come on. I'm feeling we might bring on our little striker. Little Sammy McCall. Kirsty's boy. The Rookster's after him, look. Come on, we're off again. All right, let's pause it. I think we're going to do it. Who's playing the worst out of our strikers? The Sheriff has missed a few. We're going to take the Sheriff off and we're bringing on little Sammy Mack. Where is Sammy born? I hear you cry. Is he truly a Kettering boy? He is! By the way, must apologise. I think that is the first time on camera I've said Kettering. I live in the local area. You slip into it. We don't call it Kettering round here. You shorten it to as short a sound as you can make it. Kettering. And they're on the ball. We got 15 minutes left and we have got two pretty raw players out on the pitch. It was a big risk, I should say, bringing these boys on. But I wanted to see some of the youth players in action. Is it going to cost us? Well, they've equalised. That's not ideal. We're going to shout and we're going to fire them up. That's two-headed goals for them. We are a little bit brittle at the back. I'm not sure this 3 at the back system is really solid. Because we've been conceding a hatful of goals in recent games. And now we've got to try and work our way back into the game as well. We are 6 points off the playoffs, incidentally. I think it's probably gone, to be honest. We're not playing well enough to make up that kind of gap. But here is McCall. Come on! He's giving it to Scotty. Oh, he's giving it away, though. McCall was in the action. Where's the Rookster gone? He's taking his little name above his head off. No, do not let him in. Ooh. Okay, change time again, I think. Let's get into the old tactics. We could bring on Trevor Rooney as well. Do we bring on all three of our own? Yeah, of course we do. Ben Milnes, you're off. Rooney, you are on as a playmaker. All three of the boys are on. Debuts for the lot of them. Chorley have had 21 shots. That's not great, is it? Here's the McCall. Oh, we could have an assist if Stevens tucks this away. Oh, our more experienced players have let us down in front of goal. What's the XG looking like? Because we've had some good chances. 2.5. 14 shots, 10 on target. We've done enough. Oh, don't snatch it from us at the end, because we've done enough to win this game, but we've given away the ball again. Defensively, we're not solid enough. Oh, goodness me. We've been conceding quite a few goals from outside the box, by the way. That 2 in central midfield, I think, is a bit vulnerable. What are we going to say then? 2-2. The Rookster comes on and gets a 6.4. Kirsty McCall comes on and gets a 6.7. Rooney not on long enough to get a rating. XG of 2.55. We should have won that game. I think we're going to keep confidence up, especially with some young lads out there, and we're going to say there were some positives for sure. It's not a defeat. We'll take it. We are going to go into the final, 11 games of the season or so, I think, and we're going to be 6 points off the playoffs. Here's what I think we're going to do. We're going to play through. If it looks like we could break into those playoffs, if we have a turnaround in form, we will be back. Otherwise, we're going to go to work behind the scenes. We're going to start looking at bringing in some more coaches and maybe a new head of youth development as well. And we're going to see you for the last day of the season, because now we've finally blooded one of our own.